So Minnesota, a viewer from rural Minnesota wants to know whether or not there's any further legislative action to be done on Line 3, and is wondering what's going to happen with that. Senator Simonson?
Well, I think, if I remember right, I'm 100% sure, but I think there's a provision in Senator Osmick's bill about Line 3.
There is.
But, here's what I can tell you about Line 3, is that Public Utilities Commission did their due diligence on Line 3. That was over a 4-year process, and at the end of the day, they've unanimously agreed to move forward with Line 3. We know there's challenges, right? There's challenge in court. But what I'm telling people is that even though there's a challenge in court, at the same time the permitting process is working. It's a parallel track. So we expect permits to be done by the end of this year, the end of this calendar year, and we'll see where the appeal process works out. But I can't imagine that they'd be successful in their appeal.
And it's what's happening now. And private citizens should have the right to sue, right to appeal if they want to do it. The biggest problem we have right now, the hope is that with the change of the administration from Dayton to Walz, that the Department of Commerce would drop this additional appealing. They didn't. My bill says you're not getting any money, you're going to drop the appeal right now. And the funny part, or sad part, depending on how you look at this, is that this appeal is upon factual or questions. It's all based upon things that the PUC ruled on in their original statement and their original discussion about the topic. So we're appealing something that was already dealt with by the PUC. It is unnecessary. It is useless. People can continue to have the right. And by the way, people should be also held accountable if they start damaging equipment, start turning off valves, and I think that just happened recently here in Minnesota, even today. They should be prosecuted to the nth degree of the law. But this pipeline needs to be dealt with for the energy security of this state and the nation, for that matter.
And it's a big public safety issue too, right? I mean, if we don't have pipelines that are transporting this product, they're going to find other ways to transport it. And we already are choked with train traffic in Minnesota, especially in northern Minnesota and coming down the west side every day. I mean, Senator Bach tells a story about a little town of Reamer up in his district where 28 trains in a day. Each one of these things is a mile long, and these are accidents waiting to happen, and it's not good. It's not good. It's not good to have that. So I think building this pipeline is the right thing to do. They've gone through the process. The PUC has blessed it. Let's do it.
It's $2 or $3 billion worth of private investment. Not one taxpayer penny. Actually, by building this, there's property tax generated along that route to counties and to school districts that are going to be benefiting from this. And the last point, and we can move on, is this pipeline is the safest way, as you just said, Senator, the safest way to move this oil. And if for people who think that we're not going to need oil in the next 10 or 20 years, they're kidding themselves. We are converting slowly, and we can talk about energy, electric cars, but they're not going to be there for the foreseeable future. We need this.